So, um, I am going to go into my experience living overseas in this video. Um, I'm not going to mention any of the countries or the real names of individuals involved, because let me just say, the country that I lived in, Christianity isn't exactly welcomed, and I do not want to get anyone in trouble or arrested or beaten. So if you know me in real life and you know the country that I lived in, I would ask that you refrain from referencing that country in the comments at all. Please do not mention the name of the country. Please do not mention the name of the language, etc. I really want to keep the identities of these individuals very, very private, as for their own personal safety. And so I will refer to these countries as country A and country B. And we'll just go with that. So to start off, alright. I was born, let me give you a little brief background on me. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1996. And I was about 8 or 9 months old when we moved back down to Atlanta, Georgia, where I am, I guess, originally from. I don't really know. I've lived a lot of different places, so, but I've lived here in Atlanta the longest, so, and I've moved a couple of times to different houses, and when I was, I want to say, like 7, 8 maybe. I'd have to really go back and think, but I think I was about 8. My parents sat me down with my sister, and they told us that we were going to be missionaries in another country. And I had no idea what the word missionary meant. I believed in God wholeheartedly. I believed in Jesus. But I just didn't know what that word meant. I was 8, you know? And so I was very, very curious. I remember it was I think it was springtime, and we were sitting at dinner. And they told us they had something very serious to tell us. And we thought at that point that we were going to be in country A. And so we poured all of our time and energy into funding this long-term mission trip, which we planned on spending X plus years, you know, in said country. And we thought we were going to be doing something a little bit different. And I don't know if I'll share a whole lot of that. I don't know how much I'll share of that. We'll see. So we spoke at a lot of churches, and we'd go from church to church in the Southeast. I think we spoke at some churches in South and North Carolina. We spoke at some churches here, there, everywhere. And we were getting support, but I want to guesstimate about 50% of what we needed. My dad is a big math engineering person, so he made, you know, like a little spreadsheet of everything. And I'm not going to get into his story because it's his story. I'm just sharing mine. And so we would go to churches, and the money wasn't coming in. And I was about 10, 11. And we had been raising support for about 2 years. A year and a half, 2 years. And I guess I was closer to 9 then. Oh well. I was a kid. Point taken, I was a kid. And so we had to step back and evaluate what was going on. I'm not really going to get into my testimony here or my encounters with the Lord because that is a separate video, but I will do a video on that eventually. I don't even know if I'm going to post this one tonight or not. But so we took a step back and we really decided to really pray on things and really seek the Lord. And so my parents found out that we were going to Country B. And our goal was we really were looking towards training up believers in Country B to speak to minority groups in Country B and witness to them. And that is what we were planning on doing. So we found that out. We spoke at more churches and we did more more stuff. And the money was just like boom, 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 boom. Someone that I really enjoy listening to always says, wherever God guides, He provides. So that is very true. I have personally seen that in my own life. And so we moved overseas when I was 14 years old. And we moved back when I was 16. But while we were over in Country B, things just did not go the way we planned. We were in one city for about a year, and then we moved to a second city for about a year. And while we were in the first city, we were primarily learning the language, trying to get adjusted to the culture, and we were with some other missionary friends of ours whose names I will not mention, again, for their own personal privacy, because this is not their story, this is mine. And they helped us a lot, and they were from the same organization as we were, and so, yeah, that's what happened there. And we met a lot of really beautiful, wonderful individuals. Just the experiences were really incredible, and I know that I have not had a normal life, especially not for a millennial, but I'm really grateful for the experiences that I've had and for the opportunities that I've had, because they're worth so much more than words could say. And I could go into a million different directions, but I remember going to like the grocery store with my sister. We would walk because public transportation was just like the bomb diggity over there. Like everyone rode the bus. Everyone rode the bus. And my sister learned the language so well. She was almost fluent. People would actually listen to her speak, and they would say, oh my goodness, she sounds like a native speaker. Like, oh my goodness, she doesn't have an accent. And she was just really awesome, and we had a lot of fun. We would go to the market. Excuse me. We would go to the market. We would go to the grocery store. We would go shopping. Stuff was pretty cheap over there. It was very easy to live. We enjoyed a lot of really cool food. It was just so much fun. Like, I mean, it's like I listened to like my grandparents and like people from older generations talk about, oh, when I was a kid, we would just go downtown and do this and do that all day. And I'm like, well, I got some memories like that too. So that was really fun. And my sister, her language skills were so good that we would have like a repair person over at our house, and she would translate. And she would be like, oh, he said this. And then my mom would be like, okay, well, ask him this question. And he would translate and all that, how much everything was going to cost. My sister and I we would go out. I was 14, she was 10, and we would just go places. And that was the thing. We hung out with friends, we made friends, we had a lot of fun, and we saw a lot of different things. In this country, okay, yeah, I'm not going to go into that, but there were just a lot, it just wasn't quite, things were just done differently. Some things that we liked better, some things that we missed the United States, made us miss the United States, I guess I should say. But, then we moved to the second city, and some things were harder, some things were better. That city was a very large city, bigger than many cities in the United States, including New York City. It was larger than that. I'm not going to mention that city, because again, people's protection. And yeah, so, and then when I was 16, we moved back, and, my dad had to find a new job, and in the field that he's in, it wasn't too hard, because there's kind of a high demand for it. Again, I don't want to tell someone else's story. I'm just trying to focus on this is my life. This is what happened. So, anyway. And so we lived with my grandparents for a few months, and then we moved back to Atlanta, where we are right now, and, my dad has a really good job, and we live in a really beautiful house, and I'm going to college right now. I go to a community college, and I'm just getting my associates in communications and all that jazz. But that's just like a little brief, little bit about me and my life, and hopefully you'll understand more of where I'm coming from when I'm making some of my videos. Because of that, the Lord has just continuously provided. We got my cats over in that country. My sister would go into neighbors' yards and steal cats, and finally we got some, and we got permission from my parents to keep them, and so we, long story short, we ended up with 3 cats, and they're awesome. I love them. Olive is mine. She's my little baby. And Princess is Lauren's. And Snickers doesn't really belong to anybody. He's just a whiny cat. But just like to be able to bring them back. Like the policy for the plane is, and we have a dog. And now we have a hamster, but we didn't have a hamster at the time. So we just had 4 pets, and there's 4 people. It's me, my sister, and my parents. So on the plane ride taking the animals back to the United States, the policy was 1 pet per person. So it worked out. Like, just so many things. I want to pray about this and think about this, about how much detail I necessarily want to go into with some of these stories that I will share about my experience overseas. It's just that I want to be so careful because, on one hand, I really like to share my stories, but on the other, I really want to protect the individuals involved, because there are some people that, if I mentioned, the country that I was in or their names, I could get them thrown into jail. If this government found out, and let's just say in the country that I was living in, Christianity was not welcomed at all. And so this is kind of a little bit hush-hush. But, so yeah, I would recommend, that if you know me in real life, and you know what country I lived in, please, please, please do not mention the name of the country or any of the cities or the language, etc. in the comments, or reference them in anything, because I do not want anyone to get in trouble. Another thing that I wanted to mention is, I will go into a video about my walk with the Lord, I guess my testimony, but it's probably going to be very, very long. But whose testimony isn't complicated? I mean, we all have our own struggles, and there's a lot of things that I wanted to mention and talk about. So that in and of itself will be its own video. But I just thought that this information, if you watch me or enjoy watching my videos or whatever, I thought that this information might be a little bit helpful to understanding some of where I'm coming from. So I hope this blesses you. Have a great day in Jesus' name.